Hi, I'm Jacqueline Rinksmeyer, Executive Director of the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us today to watch our annual Candidates Forum. We do this event in partnership with Medina TV, and I'm here today with General Manager Jared Fry.
Thank you, Jacqueline. You will notice today, as Jacqueline and I do not have our mask on, and as I interview these candidates, I will not be wearing a mask, nor will the candidates. We are following all the Department of Health guidelines in regards to spatial distancing, and with being on air and doing a broadcast, masks are not required.
All candidates in local contested races were invited to participate in these interviews. This forum is designed to inform the voting public of their choices in the upcoming election.
The views and opinions stated by the candidates during the course of these interviews are not necessarily those of Medina TV and the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for exercising your right to vote in the upcoming election. Enjoy the Candidates Forum.
Joining us now in studio is Darrell Kick, the incumbent candidate for the Ohio House Representatives 70th District. Glad you could join us today, Darrell.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you first start off a little bit and just let the viewers and the voters know a little bit about yourself.
Well, family farmer. Lived down in Loudonville my whole life. My kids are seventh generation on part of the farm, the original part of 80 acres. It's grown, but we've been there ever since the 1830s and continue to farm to this day. Real estate investor and rentals in both, as far as residential and commercial, we do that as well. My wife's an attorney. We have 5 children. We keep busy, and I love coaching, and I miss that. I used to coach a lot basketball, but I miss that as well. So.
Time's been a little preoccupied with some other things right now, correct?
That's true.
And actually, speaking of that, why don't you describe the role of a state representative?
Well, we make the laws. So as we're down in Columbus, suggestions are made on new laws or fixing some old ones. I like to joke sometimes it seems like we spend a lot of time fixing laws that we thought we already fixed. But that's kind of our job down there, and we meet with constituents as well as lobbyists and people within industry and get the best information we can and go forward on the best bills to bring forward to make Ohio better.
And what do you feel right now is the biggest challenge that faces the representatives?
Biggest challenge right now is it's hard to get out and see the people. We still try, and you know, we're limited with the COVID stuff, but still wanting to. We're still representing the people of our districts, and we want to hear from them and hear their struggles and how can we fix it. So.
And I guess playing off that is a question I had later, but I'll move it up now. In terms of relationship with constituents, how do you feel is the best way to communicate and get constituents back involved, especially in light of everything that's going on today?
It's always been relationships. It's kind of hard to be mad at people that you develop a good relationship with. So whether that's within politics or outside of politics, it's building those relationships and getting to know people, hearing their stories, and helping them understand my perspective so they can understand where I'm coming from whenever I'm working on their behalf. But yeah, just trying to continue to meet people and understand what they're going through. Now,
in terms of relationships and continuity, how do you feel the relationship is between the House, the Senate, and the governor here in the state of Ohio?
Well, that ebbs and flows depending on what's going on. I mean, right now it's pretty tough with the governor and the COVID stuff. But typically the Senate and the House are always at odds. I mean, they feel like their chamber has the right answer for things, and they want to hold to that. And both sides could be right and both sides could be wrong. So when you have both chambers being held by the same party, you typically get along a little better. I see that most of the time in the state of Ohio here. We get along fairly well.
Okay. Now, in terms of you're the incumbent, so if reelected, what are 3 items that are at the kind of the top of your list, or your priorities you'd like to see accomplished in your next term?
Well, we're continuing to work on workforce development. I think even before COVID, and I mean, everything's kind of changed now with so many businesses struggling because of the COVID situation we're in. But before that, there were so many skilled positions that we need to fill. And I'm a firm believer in individualized learning in a way that we can find out where that student or where that young adult needs to be best fit to their skill set, not just everybody go to college for this 4-year degree or that 2-year degree, but career centers as well can really help us get people to the right positions, good paying jobs. It's so uplifting when you have a job and it's something you love to do. It just changes that perspective on people, on their outlook on life, and I think that's very important. We still have, some opioid troubles. In my district, in the 70th, it's more of a methamphetamine problem still, so there's those things to work out. I'm constantly working, trying to figure out better ways for the adoption and foster care process. Those are very important to me as a former, my wife and I have been foster parents in the past. Those are very important to us to help mitigate some of the problems that we're facing with trying to get kinship care or online training now because of where we're at, just those situations. And then H2 Ohio hasn't gone away. It's just kind of, we're waiting to see what our budgets are, and those are very, as an agricultural guy, what's the next thing we're going to be working on to help clean up our waters and Lake Erie and some of the other tributaries that are feeding our systems to make sure that we have a great state of good, clean water. So those are some of the things that, just off the top of my head, are still very important.
Yeah, now speaking on some of those, to expand a little bit, in terms of the business, all the way down to the basic level of the employee, to the business itself, due to COVID, what do you see as the best way to help businesses that maybe just barely hanging on to those that might be trying to get started up?
Well, are you referring to while we're in the...
Yes, while we're in the crisis. I'm sorry, yes.
No, it's a real struggle because how long, and that's one of the frustrations we have right now. The governor was in a no-win situation to start out, and we understand that, but how long is this going to continue? It's time to trust the businesses and Ohioans that we can be safe and go about life even before there's a proven vaccine. Yeah, we're doing what we can. We just passed a bill and to help mitigate liability for business when it comes to COVID. So we can only do so much. I mean, the businesses right now are the ones that are reaching out to the governor, and some lawsuits have worked. When we've got this staring at us, and it's because of old law that the governor has this authority, it's kind of tough for us to make a change until he's willing to help us make a change, because we have to pass the bills out of the House, the Senate needs to concur, and the governor needs to sign it. So right now, during the pandemic, not always so willing to do that. He wants to make sure that he saves as many lives as he can, and rightly so, but we're staring at businesses that can't do this. We're going to lose, I forget what the numbers are, but close to 50% of some of our restaurants are not going to reopen. They just can't do it at 50% occupancy. So we're going to do what we can, but again, the government is always in the fix. Sometimes we're in the way, and that's what as well as other conservatives, are looking to. How can we get out of the way to help those businesses?
And then one of the other issues you brought up is the opioid crisis, and as you referenced, you're seeing a little bit more of a methamphetamine problem. Give you a chance to expand on that a little bit. Are there things you'd like to see done, or plans you'd like to put in place to help with this problem?
Well, again, jobs is one of the things that helps the most. It touches when you have those situations where a family member is addicted to something or is on something like that. It's hard for them to be a good parent. It's hard for them to do the things they need to do. So a job helps do that, but we also help to have the programs in place to help clean up. We've done that in past budgets to help with crisis centers and other opioid task forces to make sure that we have the tools out there to help those people. Right now, it's our agencies, our mental health agencies and our addictive agencies are frustrated because in some areas there's been grants and monies put into place for opioid crisis, but they can't use it for methamphetamine crisis. So we're looking to see what we can do to help maybe give that flexibility back to the counties so they can help as many people as possible with their certain situation.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, another one that always comes up every election year that someone's running for election, and that's the issue of school funding. Mm-hmm. Just to figure out the process, any thoughts, or what is your stance so far with school funding?
Well, people bring that up quite frequently because I think it's been since like 1993 or something like that it was deemed unconstitutional the way we're doing it. It's a huge lift, and I know our current Speaker Cupp that was just installed, he has a bill that we're still looking at. It's rather expansive to me at places, and but it shifts money a little bit better to be more equitable. It's not an easy fix. Mm-hmm. My theory is when you throw more money at it, it doesn't always fix it. We want accountability, but yet we're over testing. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in that bill we're going through, we're looking at. I'm not an education expert. That's the funny thing about this job is when you're down there, you have to know a little bit about everything, but usually you come in with a perspective and a knowledge of a certain profession, if you will, mm-hmm. and you're trying to learn to keep up with it. But for me, when it comes to funding, obviously we need to fund it. It's constitutional. We need to make sure our schools have what they need. But it's a tough fix, mm-hmm. and I don't have all the answers right now. Yeah. But we're working on it. We're continuing to work on it. This bill may be the answer. We'll see.
Speaking of tough to have the answers for, my next question is in regards to social injustice, whether that's the LGBTQ issues or also the racial injustice that's going on in the country as well as the state right now. What are your thoughts, or what do you think can be done to help with these issues?
Well, with social injustices, I want to see the data. I mean, I hear it. I haven't seen it in my district, and I haven't seen it much in Ohio. I think we've done fairly well here in Ohio with our training of cops and our institutions. But I'm sure there's some bigotries and some things out there that people see, and of course, better training and what we can do to help that. For me, I live out on a farm. I'm not really participating in it. It's hard for me to see, but I'm hearing from people that are, especially in the inner city situations, that they feel that they have that. Well, that's one of the reasons I met with Representative West out of Canton, so that we can discuss racial issues and see where we differ and where we can come together. And to me, that's where the answer is as far as the state legislature is let's see the data, let's try to understand what's all behind it, but when we talk to each other, it's not rural versus urban, it's how can we come together as a group to fix the problems that may be ailing America. Mm-hmm. Again, it's not just an easy fix that we can do one bill and all of a sudden there's no more bigots and there's no more racism. Mm-hmm. It's a hard issue, and I think for me as a Christian, I believe that it's the relationships we build with one another that can help us propel that into a great future. Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of reflecting upon yourself there a little bit leads me to my next question. What skill set, expertise, experience do you bring to the table that differs from your opponent?
I don't know my opponent that well, so I'm not sure where to start with that.
So maybe what skills or expertise do you bring to the position?
For me, I feel like I'm a common sense guy, and I just kind of stay level-headed. I don't get too crazy either way. But I can bring people together, whether it's within my own party or between parties. And I feel like I've shown that in my years down there, and I want to continue to be that person that can help maybe bring parties together to understand why there's differences, and I can be that bridge. Mm-hmm.
Well, great. Well, thank you. Again, we're speaking with Darrell Kick, the incumbent for the Ohio House of Representatives, 70th District. And this is your chance, Darrell, in case I missed anything, or your chance to speak directly to the voters. I'll turn the microphone over to you, and you can look directly into the camera and address our voters.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Well, once again, we're at election season, and I think it's very important to know your candidates. So I appreciate this forum as we come to you to help you see who you're potentially maybe voting for. So I just want to thank you for your civic duty to the country and to the state and to our district to go vote, and I do appreciate that. For me, I'm just down there to represent the district. I listen to people. Sometimes there's votes that I take that it's because that's what the district wanted, and not always exactly as I see it. But there's other times that I believe I stand on my faith, and I'll vote for what I believe is correct too, and then explain my vote to everyone that asks. So once again, I'm just down there to represent, and if you'll send me back, I'll continue to do that. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, Darrell. Once again, Darrell Kick, the incumbent candidate for the Ohio House of Representatives, 70th District. And usually I always like to close with a nice handshake, but instead we'll just kind of do an air fist bump for you. And I wish you the best of luck this November.
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate it.